Welcome. This is Andrea Vitamus here, and in a second, I will bring on Zach Louis. We're going to have a conversation about our experience.
Hey.
So I invited Zach to participate. Not so much participate, just to kind of see, hey, as we do in the Quantum Life Science Institute, when we're getting these kind of like good effects off the start, we want to make sure they're not subjective. And so I asked Zach to come in and say, here's my Kali altar. Just tune in, as it were. And since he has some familiarity with Kali, I'm going to let him speak about his experience, and then I have a whole bunch of stuff to talk about for mine, right? This is actually how in quantum life science we actually roll, because I thought that I was getting a little bit too good of results. So I started to distrust myself and wanted outside verification. And here we are with Zach. Here we are. So we don't know how many miles we did because we're not focusing on that. And we started off with chakra work, which would not have affected Zach except for him to see my energy probably spiking, or starting to rev up. Right, Zach?
Yep, that was correct.
Because it was all internal. When I was doing the mantra, I was projecting, and there's a lot of things that happened, and I'll describe it. And since this is day 2, I also have a lot to say because I had really kind of effed up dreams that I have to talk about. So, Zach, why don't you go ahead and start? Because you're the external validator in this case.
Right. So, I mean, while Andrea was doing the work, it got really trippy really fast. As soon as he started going with the mantras, and time just kind of, how should I say, disappeared.
During the whole process. We set a 45-minute limit, literally, because I had to feed my kid chicken, and that was the time it was going to take. And I put the oven at 15 minutes so it could warm up, and came up here, set my clock for 45 minutes, and it took us 42 minutes. And it felt like 5 minutes, but I felt like my body was getting a little beat up. So yeah, I can totally agree with that.
Right, and I mean, during that process, it sounded like someone else was doing the mantra beside you.
Yeah, that was weird. I didn't hear that, but much deeper, huh?
Yeah.
Like one or multiple people, or?
Yeah, I'd say like multiple people. It sounded like they were doing the mantra with you.
That's kind of screwed up.
That is kind of screwed up. And I know like the mic itself actually went to a point where it got robotic, and then it went back to a deeper tone, and then it went back to you. I was like, what?
Mm-hmm. How about your body? How about everything? Now you've done some work before, so you tell me. Bring my cards out too for a minute. You tell me, how do you think it went?
Given Kali work, it went spectacularly. I feel beat up. I cried. I went through the whole works with you on that. I mean, I did some mantras with you on that while I was connecting through, but yeah, I feel like I'm completely effed up.
So yeah, so you would verify the fact that what I was saying, that I'm getting pretty, what I would consider spectacular connections to the spirit.
Oh yeah, very strong connections to
spirit. You know, it's only like 2 days. So I had some pretty unique experiences this time. And a lot of the time my body was tensing up. So this is going to take a lot of tensing up, like it used to, like when I was doing hardcore qigong, and I know that means that I have a lot of energy blocks, but it means the flow and force from Kali is usually greater than what I can handle in energy work. And honestly speaking, I'm pretty good at energy work.
Yes, you are.
So I keep hearing the insight was to surrender, and I took that as relax more than anything. Like I have to physically relax my body. And when I did that, then I got a kind of weird vision, and Kali kind of ripped my limbs apart and pulled them off, and then pulled my legs off, and then my brain decayed. It was kind of weird. It didn't hurt, but I could. It felt like a death meditation. Since I put death meditations in the shapeshifting class, I know what they feel like. It didn't hurt, but it was definitely there. And then I kept relaxing, and then soon after that, it felt like we'd only been doing the mantra for 5 minutes, but I was feeling really beat up, and I said, "Okay, I think we're done. I'm done," because I thought my body was feeling beat up, even though it wasn't that long. I just was feeling like, okay, I just got tore apart. I just uh, got ripped to shreds. Kind of my body's back, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
You know, to use the bleach metaphor that my daughter watches, it was overwhelming spiritual pressure up in here, and I was just kind of like, okay, all right, I think I'm done. And literally, then I looked at the clock and saw that 42 minutes had passed by, and then so it was right on time, which is even more unusual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely agree on the visions. I mean, I saw myself getting ripped up, blown up, and all sorts of massacre there.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing was is that last night I got to pull up my notes because I had all kinds of weird dreams after one day. Um, there's a couple of things I want to say about those weird dreams because, you know, dreams and subjective experience are not results yet. Me corresponding with Zach to have a similar connection is getting closer to results, but it's still not results. It's still we're having mutual subjective experiences that match, but we haven't seen I haven't seen the life changes yet, and I want to go over the dream a little so that way I have a good record of what actually is occurring because the dream was I only got like 5 hours sleep yesterday because my fiance is going to this big seminar, so we had to pack and all this stuff. I almost never have any kind of spiritual dreams when there's that happening, but this was a spiritual dream, and I know the difference because there's always a full plot to the dreams that come from spirits for me, and there's usually like music and other stuff. They want to make it a point that I pay attention, so they add all kinds of stuff. And this was one of those dreams, and I was part of a group of 3 people, and there was these 2 towers that were like office buildings. There was like another male and another female. I never really saw them, but we just went in there and started blowing stuff up anime style. And in a dream, the implication is that we went in and destroyed a whole bunch of people too. But then it was a weird dream. It was clearly spiritual in nature. There's whole kinds of symbology there, especially with an office building, given that I work as an office manager, not a manager, a really technical manager, but I work in an office setting. And it became like Groundhog Day. So we're all I was outside the 2 towers. I don't know where the other people were. Everyone was talking about the buildings as if they were destroyed, but then they went right back into the buildings as if nothing had changed. And when we looked at them, the buildings looked perfectly fine. But our existence had been removed from buildings. Like I couldn't even go in the building anymore. People knew we were there. They said hello, but I really couldn't go in the building. And I never saw the faces of the other people involved in this act of magical destruction. In the dream, there was a lot of confusion for me because I was like, why aren't we being arrested? We just kind of blew up a building, you know, but everyone was kind of happy about the blowing up of the building, even though it was still there after the fact. And there was a circular driveway of the building that did show some damage and cracks, but it wasn't totally destroyed. And people would come and say hi to me, and I just kept driving around saying hi to people, and then I drove off. The car symbolism is another weird symbolism for me. I don't have a car right now that I'm strongly attached to. Um, but even the fact a car shows up is usually a sign of a goon. That's a Loa. The other symbolisms and destructions was all there. Some people were talking about the other woman and were basically like, yeah, she'll be okay. She'll be okay. Like I said, 5 hours sleep. I don't usually have that happen ever on that little bit of sleep. And I did. And it was clear what the symbology was, kind of like the aspects of my career kind of being destroyed. Of course, that should give me a little pause, but I actually want to move to a different career and path, so that's okay too. I'm sure, like in the dream, if I was more attached to my car right now, like when I had my red Civic, it would have appeared in the dream as a symbol of a goon. Having a gray car like I do now, it just doesn't appear with enough personality, which is probably why I didn't recognize it. It didn't appear with enough personality in the dream to be a symbol for this warrior, fierce warrior spirit, so whatever, how it is. That they'll come and protect me after everything falls, that I'll still have work. That was the implication there. It's crazy after 2 days. I still don't feel like I've mastered this mantra. I can get Kali present, but I don't have mastery enough to think about doing a 10-hour puja yet. Yeah, I got you beat on hardcore.
Yeah, yes, you do, sir.
I'm gonna do 10,000 repetitions in a Homa. I'm hoping to maybe get you down there.
Hopefully, I'd love to come down for that.
Maybe pay for you to come down or something and earn some extra money. And
Cool.
I've been informed by my fiance that I need to have spotters, but I was seriously going to fast for like the whole weekend.
Wow.
And then just go 10 hours to get to 10,000 mantras to get to the 100,000 siddhi point. It's like actually a little more, so it's probably about 11,000 to be safe. Hardcore. So I'm going to do a tarot reading to see how we did today, just how I'm doing on this, and reflect on what's going on. Wow, that's very interesting. So the tarot cards not as friendly today, although the work is good. And you know how it is. It starts off with Prince of Swords, which is breaking down of mental illusions down through ruin, which is just destruction. I asked if I should interpret this card as destruction, drew the tower, like destruction of mental constraints and moving towards the universe. This is not unexpected for like the kind of dreams. I just have to be careful and make sure that there's other opportunity. If Kali's going to take those financial kind of career opportunities, there's going to have to be some negotiation about how I take care of my family. Like I'm going to have to stabilize that maybe. My job is pretty stable though, actually. There's a lot that could happen though. From here, the divination's coming up weird, which is basically saying time to stop. Don't look at it anymore. Because while I can lose everything, I really can't lose everything with the family. And plus that, like I said, my job's relatively stable. So off of the thing, I'm going to have to do some research and divinations to see how we're doing on this. There's a lot of references to the career kind of blowing up, but the universe puts out some positivity. But I have to do some more divinations, I think, after the fact, because, like I said, I have to make sure things stay stable. But you never know; you get lucky and something can come along. Have to do some positive work too, some sort of positive money work, I think, just to keep things going. But that's certainly core. That's certainly congruent with the dreams and the other things, and me wanting to make a career change into more motivational speaking, business coaching, as opposed to IT management. So I'm not surprised this is what come up. I just gotta negotiate a little. Say, hey, Kali, I have to make sure my family is taken care of. Right? Wouldn't you say, with those cards and everything?
Yeah, definitely.
I'd probably say the car stuff coming up just says I'll be okay. Like things will be okay. But I asked for change, so that's what we get.
Yep, that's what you get.
Thanks, Zach. That's what I get.
It's Kali work, right?
All right. Yeah, you should expect it. Expect me. Oh, I'm gonna get off the line on the official broadcast. I think we covered everything on day 2. Was there anything else that you had that came up when you're just tagging along today?
Not much, other than she's like, you need to be on the stuff more with him on this during his 40 day. And then her saying, like, I need to work with, like, some aspect of Shiva. But I'm like, okay, I gotta research that.
Yeah, it always seems to come out this way. That is crazy stuff.
Yeah. I was just kind of like, okay, I gotta research that. She's like, the drunk stuff's good. This is fine. This is fine. I'm gonna rip this shit up. I'm like, fine. I'm like, okay, I don't really care. But she's like,
And
yeah,
it's kind of funny because you said the mantra work that I did, like, came the way it hits is much fiercer than when you were
yours
doing
is
it
much
before.
fiercer. I mean, I still got like the more motherly type vibe from it, but it was still ripping me apart, even when I was doing it. But yours was much more fiery, I guess I would call it.
Which is funny because I'm not even doing anything that involves any candles addition to this. So
Yeah, yours was like much more fiery because mine was like when I did it, it was much more gentle. Like it's almost kind of like if I had to put ballpark, like I was kind of like maybe like you be like way into the far end of the field, I'd be on the other end. So that's kind of what it felt like when I was doing it. I was kind of like easing my way into it, and then you were like you hit the far end right away. I was like, well, fuck. And she's like,
I haven't hit the far, and we'll see what happens when we get to when we get to day 40, right? I mean, and then I schedule a Homa. Then we'll see hardcore
yeah,
what happens.
because I know like she was like, yeah, like that was up to where your limit was, but with this is different now. I'm like, well, yeah, it's fucking different.
Well, yeah, because my limit of pain and suffering seems to be higher than yours.
Yes, yes. Unfortunately. And I was like, what the fuck is this shit?
I know. Go big or go home.
But she's like, yeah, you should join him for the rest of some of the Cali rides. You don't have to do all 40 days, but you should be in there for quite a bit. I'm like, oh, I still got my drunk set. She's like, you can keep doing that.
Yeah, and the other thing is that we were researching like hand mudras
Yeah.
to actually get down the chakra stuff with the hand mudras and put together a more complete hand mudra, chakra, mantra series. And maybe we should write a whole pamphlet on this, and we probably should, because when we started doing the research, it's just chaos, and not in a good way. It's not like chaos magic. That's a good way. It's like just bad. It's like people have 10 different mudras for each chakra, and none of them really make sense, which means we have to test. I have to go through and test every single one of them, let alone I could probably do a Shakti mudra, which would help. That a mudra is a hand gesture, like this is a mudra, or this is a mudra, or this more complex mudras, like this is a mudra. They all do different things. If you watch the Magician's show, that's a show about mudra magic. Everything is mudra magic with your hands. And I literally was trying today to do research to get it so I could have a working chakra, upgrade to the chakra work. And I was going to give it to Jason, who is also doing the challenge. But we couldn't. I even called Zach, and we're like, what do your books say? And he's describing the mudras, and they're entirely different. They're entirely different online. There was some reasons for me to doubt the book that I thought was a good book on the surface. And this just kind of goes with how occult research unfortunately goes, why I say can't trust the books. You have to actually go through and try it out. And I think we should do that pamphlet. I think we should write that book down.
Well, we definitely can. I mean, we got enough resources on this stuff to cross-reference and compare.
Because the mere fact that I struggled with it means it's not clear. So eventually, the idea of this is to get to the point that when it's warm, I have enough control of the mantra that I could go dance in my yard while I'm doing the mantra with dancing the mudra and doing the mantra in the yard at night. It's March, so when I get to nearly the 30-day mark, it'll probably be warm enough, because I'll go out there if it's 40 or 50 degrees. But I have to now do more research, because it'll look really cool, even though I'm a big guy, because people have seen me work outside before, and then I can really go to town.
Yes, you can. Yes,
especially with the mantras and the hand mudras, while kind of using some of Antero Ali's techniques of free motion and holding the mudras, which will be great to see if I can get it to work. I'm not going to do that in front of the Homa. That's just me internalizing the mantra into my body even more, so I can control it. And it seems weird that I'm saying control the mantra, but it's like I said earlier, like it literally was like so much energy that my body tensed up until I had complete control, or I'm completely relaxed through the ritual and I don't feel tired. We don't have control of the mantra. I mean, this means I'm connecting right, and I'm getting Kali to show up, but I don't have control of the mantra, where I can surrender enough to not have my body beat up. I mean, I think that's an important point, maybe just to tell people. And you being a Chinese doctor, oh, you can't say that, right? You being would be called a Chinese doctor in the United States of America, Chinese medicine doctor in the United States, but not in Canada. They can't say that in Canada. I think you can back me up on this. It's not so much that the mantra causes that, it's the flows and intensity. And whenever you're doing Qigong work of a more advanced level, if your body stiffens up, it usually means that you have to work through a lot of blocks.
Yeah, it's blocks and it's rerouting. And the particular mantra you're working with, it's a freight train of a mantra in terms of the energy it passes through.
Yeah, it is. It's a complete freight train, and it hits you like a wave. Like it's not just like well, I mean, I got Kundalini Rising to talk about it some more. Oh yeah, I mean, it hits you like it is like Bleach. It's like you're sitting there and you're like, but you can't do that because that's the opposite what you have to do. So you're sitting there, but your body's still tensing up, and you have to get to the point that I know I have to get to the point that there's no tension. Other people can get tension, but I have to have control of the mantra to the point that the body is fully relaxed, even though there's that much spiritual pressure. And that's the point at which then I can go into the homa and loop it through the fire, in which case I still probably will have problems in that homa, but that's okay.
Hardcore.
That is pretty hardcore. That's
hardcore.
how we roll. No, I was serious about it. I want to get rid of the stuff that I want to get rid of. And I have faith that my spirits will make sure it comes out the positive way, not just the destructive way. Otherwise, what are you going to do? I won't let it go to a destructive way. That destructive, because obviously I have to care for other people. So, just how it is. Well, thank you, Zach, for joining me.
Well, thanks for the invite.
Yeah, I just wanted to really kind of check that, hey, I'm hitting the mark this strong running, because and I mean, this is a good thing to point out to people. Like, it isn't necessarily just because you think you're hitting the ground running so hard, it just doesn't mean you are. And like I said, these are still, now we have shared subjective experiences, but we still don't have any results yet. Although I will say that there was some noticeable improvements in some of the tangible things on the ground today, but we'll see if that lasts a little longer. People had realizations and started coaching other people in my family in a different way, and we'll see what that means. Right?
Yeah.
So this is the domagick.com self-analysis challenge, and this is my video blog number 2. I'm going to sign out of here, edit the video a little, not really edit it much, but just clean it up and put it on up YouTube so I can meet the criteria of journaling. There you go. It's more fun if you journal with someone else, see?
It is.
It is. Maybe I should do the drunken qigong, although that would probably just be me getting drunk.
Well, it's kind of me anyways, doing the challenge, right?
I know, but I'd probably be drinking not one shot. Might be more like, 10 shots. Probably not. I don't really drink, so.
You and me both. I'm just taking sips at the end just to smooth the energy down. That's about it.
Exactly. All right. We'll see everyone tomorrow in Vblog land. Have a good night, everyone.
Have a good night.